Good evening, and welcome to Boring History for Sleep tonight. We invite you to leave the present behind and drift into the distant past, to the sun-scorched shores of ancient Carthage, a city of merchants, warriors, and forgotten lives, thriving on the edge of the Mediterranean. Imagine yourself stepping into a world where the air is thick with the scent of olive oil and sea salt, where the clamor of docks and the chants of priests filled the twilight. This is a journey through time, crafted to soothe your mind and ease you into rest. Our tale unfolds across 15 chapters, each a window into the rhythms and struggles of Carthaginian life, from the toil of a humble dockworker to the ambitions of a legendary general, from sacred rituals to the echoes of a city lost to history. We'll wander slowly, unhurried, through a civilization both vibrant and unforgiving. Let the details wash over you like a gentle tide, carrying you towards sleep. So, settle into your comfortable space, close your eyes if you wish, and let's begin. Picture yourself in the bustling port of Carthage around 300 BCE, where the day's work never seems to end. Imagine yourself waking before dawn in the sprawling city of Carthage, nestled on the North African coast. The air is already warm, heavy with the temps of salt from the nearby sea and the faint, acrid smell of fish left too long in the market. You are a dockworker, one of countless laborers who keep this mercantile empire alive. Your home is a cramped, mud-brick tenement in the lower city, its walls stained with soot from a shared hearth. The straw mat beneath you is thin, and as you rise, your back aches from yesterday's labor. This is your life now, and it is a life that demands endurance. Your day begins with the distant crow of a rooster, barely audible over the creak of carts and the shouts of sailors already at work in the port. You pull on a coarse linen tunic, its fibers rough against your skin, and tie a leather belt around your waist. There's no time for idle. The overseer at the docks expects you by sunrise, and tardiness means a docked wage or worse, a lash from his stick. You grab a handful of barley bread, dry and slightly stale, and a few dates from a clay bowl. This is breakfast, washed down with a sip of sour wine diluted with water. The meal sits heavy in your stomach, but it's all you have to sustain you through hours of toil. As you step outside, the narrow street is alive with movement. Neighbors, their faces etched with fatigue, hurry toward their own tasks, women carrying water jugs, men hauling baskets of grain. The ground beneath your sandals is uneven, a mix of packed dirt and broken cobblestones, slick with morning dew and the occasional spill from a chamber pot. You weave through the crowd, the air thick with the sense of baking bread, rotting refuse, and the ever-present brine of the sea. Carthage is a city of wealth, but here, in the lower quarters, that wealth feels like a distant rumor. You reach the docks as the first rays of sunlight glint off the water. The port is Carthage's heartbeat, a sprawling maze of wooden piers and stone quays where ships from across the Mediterranean unload their treasures. Your job is to hold amphitol, clay jars filled with olive oil, wine, or garum, that pungent fish sauce prized by the elite. Each jar weighs as much as a small child, and you must carry them from the ships to the warehouses, your arms straining, your shoulders burning with every step. The overseer barks orders, his voice cutting through the cacophony of creaking ropes, splashing oars, and the chatter of merchants haggling in a dozen languages: Punic, Greek, Egyptian. The work is relentless. By mid-morning, your tunic clings to your sweat-soaked skin, and the sun beats down without mercy. You pause for a moment, wiping your brow, and glance at the harbor. Triremes, their sleek hulls painted with eyes to ward off evil, bob gently in the water. Beyond them, the circular war harbor, a marvel of engineering, gleams in the distance, its stone walls hiding the city's naval might. But such wonders are not for you. Your world is the splintered wood of the pier, the grit of sand underfoot, and the constant ache in your muscles. Hunger gnaws at you by noon, but there's no proper break. You share a loaf of bread with fellow workers, tearing off chunks as you sit on a pile of ropes. The bread is gritty, flecked with chaff, and you chew slowly, trying to ignore the dust that coats your throat. A passing sailor offers a sip from his wineskin, but it's warm and tastes of vinegar. You'll listen to the others talk of storms at sea, of debts to pay, of rumors that Rome, that growing power across the sea, is eyeing Carthage with envy. Their voices are weary, their laughter tinged with resignation. This is the rhythm of their lives, and now it is yours. The afternoon brings more labor. You stack amphorae in a warehouse, the air inside thick with the musty smell of clay and oil. Flies buzz around you, drawn to the spills on the floor, and your hands grow slick with sweat, making every jar a precarious burden. Once you nearly drop one, and the overseer's shout sends a jolt through you. A broken amphora means a day's wages lost, maybe more. You learn to move with care, your body adapting to the weight, though the strain never truly eases. Disease is another constant shadow. The port is a breeding ground for sickness, with refuse piling up in corners and stagnant water pooling near the quays. You've seen workers fall ill, their faces pale, their bodies racked with fever. Some recover, others vanish, their fates unspoken but understood. You try to stay clean, splashing seawater on your face when you can, but the grime of the docks clings to you like a second skin. At night, back in your tenement, you lie awake, listening to the coughs of your neighbors through the thin walls, wondering if you'll be next. And yet, life persists. In the evenings, you join others at a small tavern, its air smoky from oil lamps. You trade a few copper coins for a bowl of lentil stew, flavored with cumin, and a hint of precious saffron, a rare treat. The tavern is loud with stories, some true, some embellished, of distant lands and daring You listen, letting the words wash over you, a brief escape from the grind. But soon, exhaustion pulls you back to your mat, where sleep comes fitfully, interrupted by the creak of the city around you. This is the life of a Carthaginian Dakwakura, life of labor, scarcity, and fleeting moments of reprieve. You would not survive a week, not because you lack strength, but because the weight of this world, its unrelenting demands, would wear you down. As you drift now, imagine the docks fading, the sounds of the port softening into a distant hum. Let's leave this toil behind and turn to a different figure, one whose ambition shaped Carthage's destiny. As the clamor of Carthage's docks fades into the distance, let your mind drift to a different figure, one whose name echoes through the ages, a man of unrelenting ambition who dared to challenge the might of Rome itself. Picture yourself in the year 47 BCE, in the heart of Carthage, where a boy named Hannibal Barca is born into a world of wealth and war. His life, a tapestry of strategy, sacrifice, and defiance, would shape the fate of his city and leave a mark on history that time cannot erase. Let us walk through his story, step by measured step, as the Mediterranean sun casts long shadows over his path. Hannibal was the son of a respected Carthaginian general who had fought in the First Punic War, a bitter struggle against Rome that ended in Carthage's defeat. Imagine a young Hannibal, growing up in a grand villa overlooking the harbor, its walls adorned with tapestries woven with scenes of naval triumphs. The air in his home is scented with myrrh and cedar, but the conversations are heavy with the sting of loss. Hamilcar, a stern and driven man, instills in his son a deep hatred for Rome, a fire that will burn through Hannibal's life. Legend tells of a moment when, at the age of 9, Hannibal swore an oath at a temple altar, vowing eternal enmity to Rome. The flickering torchlight, the murmur of priests, the weight of his father's hand on his shoulder, these are the seeds of his ambition. As a youth, Hannibal follows his father to Iberia, Mordor and Spain, where Carthage seeks to rebuild its wealth through silver mines and conquest. The landscape is rugged, with dusty hills and olive groves stretching to the horizon. Here, Hannibal learns the art of war. He trains with a curved full-cutter sword, its iron blade heavy in his hands, and rides horses across rocky terrain, the wind carrying the scent of wild thyme. He listens to his father negotiate with Iberian chieftains, their voices rising over crackling campfires, and watches as Hamilcar's army subdues tribes with a mix of diplomacy and force. When Hamilcar dies in battle, drowned in a river during a campaign, Hannibal is just 8. The loss is a quiet ache, but it hardens his resolve. By 221 BCE, at the age of 26, Hannibal takes command of Carthage's Iberian armies. Picture him now, a young man with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor, standing before his troops. His armor gleams faintly in the morning light, and his voice carries authority as he speaks in Punic Greek, and the tongues of his diverse soldiers, Carthaginians, Iberians, Gauls. He is not a man of bombast but of calculation, his mind always turning, mapping out strategies like a merchant plotting trade routes. His ambition is clear: to restore Carthage's honor and weaken Rome, the rival that looms across the sea. Hannibal's greatest gamble begins in 218 BC. During the Second Punic War, he decides to strike at Rome not by sea, where Carthage's navy is weakened, but by land an audacious march across the Alps to invade Italy itself. Imagine the scale of this endeavor. Hannibal gathers an army of nearly 40,000 men, along with horses, supplies, and most famously, dozens of war elephants, their massive forms swaying as they lumber through dusty camps. The journey begins in Iberia, crossing rivers swollen with spring melt, the water cold against the soldiers' legs. The Pyrenees rise before them, their peaks dusted with snow, and the men trudge upward, their breath visible in the thinning air. The Alps, however, are the true test. Picture the narrow, winding paths, strewn with loose shale that shifts underfoot. The air is sharp, smelling of pine and frost, and the wind howls through the Hannibal's elephants, draped in heavy cloth to shield them from the cold, struggle on the steep slopes, their trumpets echoing off the cliffs. Men slip and fall, their cries swallowed by the vastness of the mountains. Provisions dwindle, and hunger gnaws at the army. Hannibal moves among his troops, sharing their hardships, his cloak stained with mud. He encourages them with quiet words, promising glory on the other side. After weeks of toil, perhaps half his forces lost to cold, starvation, or ambushes by mountain tribes, he emerges into northern Italy. What follows is a series of stunning victories. At the Battle of Trebia in 280 BCE, Hannibal lures the Roman army into a trap, using the fog in a frozen river to his advantage. The clash is chaotic, a cacophony of hooves and clashing bronze, but will linger not on the strife itself, but on its aftermath. The fields left silent, the Roman forces humbled. At Lake Trasimene, Hannibal ambushed another army, the morning mist cloaking his movements, and at Cannae, in 216 BCE, he achieves his masterpiece, encircling and overwhelming a larger Roman force through sheer tactical brilliance. The cost is heavy, the losses on both sides a somber toll, but Hannibal's name becomes a spectre haunting Rome. Yet, victory does not bring conquests. Carthage, weakened by years of war, cannot send reinforcements. Hannibal roamed Italy for over a decade, winning battles but unable to siege Rome itself. Picture him in his tent, the canvas flapping in the night wind, poring over maps by the light of an oil lamp. His hair is streaked with grey now, his face lined with the weight of command. Allies waver, and Rome's resilience grows. In 203 BCE, he is recalled to Carthage to defend the city against a Roman invasion led by Scipio. The final chapter unfolds at Zama. In 202 BCE, Hannibal, now in his 40s, faces Scipio on a dusty plain near Carthage. His army is outnumbered, his elephants less effective against Rome's disciplined legions. The battle is fierce, a storm of dust and cries, but when the day ends, Hannibal's forces are scattered. The defeat is not a spectacle of ruin but a quiet turning point, the end of Carthage's dreams of supremacy. Hannibal escapes, but his city surrendered. In the years that follow, Hannibal lives as an exile, advising foreign kings, always pursued by Rome's agents. Picture him in a distant court, perhaps in Asia Minor, his once proud armor replaced by a simple cloak. The sea is far away now, its salt no longer in the air. In 183 BCE, cornered and unwilling to be captured, he takes poison, his life slipping away in a foreign land. His ambition, so fierce and far-reaching, could not outrun fate. As we leave Hannibal's story, let his journey linger in your mind not as a tale of triumph or tragedy, but as a testament to the human will, burning bright against the vastness of history. Let the Mediterranean fade now, and turn your thoughts to a different enigma, one that whispers of Carthage's deepest beliefs. As the echo of Hannibal's footsteps fades into the distance, let your mind drift to a quieter, more enigmatic corner of ancient Carthage, a place where the sacred and the unsettling intertwine. Imagine yourself standing on a low hill just outside the city's walls, where the air carries the faint scent of burning cedar and myrrh. This is the Tophet, a sanctuary dedicated to the gods Bauhaman and Tanit, where archaeologists have uncovered a mystery that lingers like a shadow. The question of Carthaginian child sacrifice. Was this a ritual of devotion, a desperate plea to divine powers, or a distortion crafted by Carthage's enemies? Let us wander through this puzzle, step by careful step, with the calm curiosity of those who seek to understand the past. Picture the Tophet as it might have been in 300 BCE, a walled enclosure under a wide, starlit sky. The ground is packed earth, dotted with small stone markers, each carved with symbols as a crescent moon, a palm tree, or the outstretched hands of Tanit, goddess of fertility and protection. Low altars, blackened by years of use, stand in orderly rows, their surfaces stained with ash. The air is warm, even at night, and the distant hum of the city cart wheels. Marketplace chatter barely reaches this sacred space. Priests move silently, their robes brushing the ground, tending to fires that cast flickering light on the stones. This is a place of reverence, but also of whispers, for here, it is said, Carthage offered its most precious gifts to the gods. The mystery begins with the urns. Archaeologists, digging in the Tophet centuries later, uncovered hundreds of clay vessels buried beneath the markers. Inside were the cremated remains of infants and young children, sometimes alongside animal bone ship, goats, birds. Some urns held tiny charms, beads of glass or faience, as if placed with care. The sheer number of burials, spanning centuries, suggests a ritual repeated with purpose. But what purpose? The stones above the urns bear inscriptions in Punic, dedicating the offerings to Baal-Hamon, Lord of the Heavens, and Tanit, his consort. The words speak of vows fulfilled, of gifts given to secure divine favor. To the Carthaginians, these acts were sacred, a bond between mortal and divine. Yet, the question remains, were these children truly sacrificed, their lives given to appease the gods? Ancient sources, mostly Roman and Greek, paint a grim picture. Writers like Diodorus Siculus and Plutarch describe ceremonies where infants were placed in the arms of a bronze statue, its hollow body heated by fire, the flames claiming the offering as priests chanted. These accounts speak of parents watching in silence, their grief stifled to honor the gods. But these are the words of Carthage's rivals, written after her fall, tinged with the bias of victors eager to portray their enemy as barbaric. Rome, after all, had its own rituals, its own cruelties, yet condemned Carthage's practices with Can we trust these tales, or do they weave a myth to justify conquest? Let's consider the evidence, calmly, as if sifting through the sands of time. The urns in the Tophet hold clues. Some contain the remains of stillborn infants, or those who died naturally, suggesting the site was also a cemetery for children lost to illness or misfortune. The presence of animal bones raises another possibility, that animals were substituted in some rituals, a common practice in other ancient cultures. Yet, chemical analysis of the human remains reveals signs of burning at high temperatures, consistent with cremation after death. The ages of the children, mostly newborns, 2-3 years old, align with the idea of a deliberate selection, perhaps of those deemed most pure. The inscriptions to use language that implies an offering, not merely a burial. Imagine a ceremony, not with the horror of Roman tales, but as the Carthaginians might have seen it. A family, perhaps wealthy merchants or nobles, stands before an altar, their faces solemn. The air is thick with incense, masking the scent of charred wood. A priest, his voice low and rhythmic, invokes Baal's protection for the city, for its ships, for its people. The offering, whether a child lost to illness or, in rare cases, given willingly, is placed in a small urn, adorned with a token of love, a mother's tearful prayer. The act is not one of cruelty, but of faith, a belief that the gods demand sacrifice to ensure prosperity. To the Carthaginians, this was a necessity, a heavy but holy duty. But there's another side to consider. Some scholars argue the Tophet was primarily a cemetery, not a site of sacrifice. Infant mortality was high in ancient times, and the urns could represent children buried with special rites, their ashes dedicated to the gods for safe passage to the afterlife. The animal bones might indicate symbolic offerings, not substitutes for human lives. The Roman accounts, written centuries later, could be propaganda, exaggerating or inventing rituals to demonize Carthage. Excavations showed no mass graves or signs of widespread killing, only careful, individual burials. The truth, perhaps, lies in a blend of these views, a ritual that varied by time, need, or circumstance, its meaning lost to the ages. Picture yourself now, standing among the Tophet stones, the night air cooling your skin. The mystery of these urns is not one we can fully unravel. Were they acts of devotion, born of a faith we can scarcely understand? Or were they burials, magnified by the malice of enemies? The stones keep their secrets, their carvings worn by wind and time. As you linger here, let the question fade, like the embers of a long-cold fire. Carthage's gods are silent now, but her people lived in a world of contrasts, piety and power, wealth and struggle. Let us step away from the Tafet's shadows and turn to a different life, one of privilege and peril, high above the city's bustle. Imagine yourself in the halls of a Carthaginian senator, where the air is sweeter, but the stakes are no less daunting. As the quiet mystery of the Tophet fades into the night, let your mind drift upward to the higher hills of Carthage, where the city's elite reside in splendor. Imagine yourself no longer a weary dockworker, but a senator of Carthage, one of the powerful men who steer the course of this mercantile empire. Your world is one of marble halls, intricate politics, and the constant weight of responsibility. The air here is lighter, scented with jasmine and wax, but the life of a senator is no less demanding, its challenges woven into the fabric of privilege. Let us step into this world, slowly and deliberately, as the Mediterranean breeze carries the hum of a city at its peak. Picture yourself waking in a grand villa, its walls painted with frescoes of ships and vineyards, their colors softened by the dawnlight filtering through latticed windows. Your bed is a wooden frame draped with linen, cushioned with wool, stuffed with fragrant herbs, lavender perhaps, or rosemary to ease your rest. As you rise, a servant, silent and deferential, offers a bronze basin of rose-scented water to wash your face. Your tunic is fine wool, dyed a deep indigo, and over it you drape a toga-like robe, its folds heavy with the dignity of your station. The mirror, a polished bronze disc, reflects a face lined with the cares of leadership, though you are still in the prime of life. Your morning begins with a meal in the courtyard, where a fountain bubbles softly, its sound mingling with the chirp of caged songbirds. You sit on a cushioned bench, a low table before you laden with delicacies, fresh figs, honey-drizzled bread, olives glistening with oil, and a cup of wine spiced with cinnamon imported from distant lands. Servants move with practiced grace, their footsteps muffled on the mosaic floor, its tiles forming patterns of dolphins and stars. As you eat, your steward reads from a wax tablet, listing the day's duties: a meeting of the Council of Elders, a petition from merchants, a report on the Iberian mines. Each task is a thread in the tapestry of Carthage's power, and you are one of its weavers. The Council of Elders, Carthage's governing body, awaits you in the city's heart, near the great temple of Balhaman. You travel by litter, carried by 4 strong men, the curtains shielding you from the dust and noise of the streets below. Through the gaps, you glimpse the city's bustle, vendors hawking pottery, children darting through alleys, the ever-present scent of fish and tar from the port. The litter sways gently, a rhythm as familiar as your own heartbeat, and you use the time to think, your mind turning over alliances, trade routes, and the growing threat of Rome. The council chamber is a grand space, its walls lined with cedar panels, carved with scenes of Carthage's founding. Senators, perhaps 100 in number, sit on stone benches arranged in a semicircle, their robes a sea of white and purple. The air is cool, thanks to high windows that catch the sea breeze, but the mood is tense. You take your place, nodding to allies and rivals alike. The agenda is long. A debate over taxes on Phoenician traders, a proposal to fortify the war harbor, a warning of unrest among the Numidian allies. You speak when called, your voice measured, choosing words with care, for a misstep could weaken your influence. A rival senator, his eyes sharp with ambition, challenges your stance on the mines, and you counter with facsimile, costs, the loyalty of the overseers. The exchange is polite, but beneath it lies a current of rivalry as old as the city itself. Politics in Carthage is a delicate dance. Unlike Rome, where consuls wield temporary power, Carthage's senators hold lifelong positions, their wealth and lineage securing their seats. Yet, this stability breeds its own dangers. Factions form, tied to trade monopolies or military campaigns. You align with the Barcid family, Hannibal's kin, who push for war with Rome, but others favor peace, fearing the cost to their fortunes. Betrayal is a whisper in the shadows. Bribes, whispered rumors, or a well-timed scandal could ruin a man. You've seen senators fall, their villas seized, their families shamed. To survive, you cultivate loyalty among clients, merchants who owe you favors, priests who speak your name in temples, even spies in the markets. Midday brings a pause. You return to your villa for a light meal: roasted quail, flatbread, and dates stuffed with almond served. In a garden shaded by fig trees, your wife, a woman of poise and intellect, joins you, her gold earrings glinting as she speaks of the household's accounts. Women of your class wield influence, managing estates or advising on alliances, though always behind the veil of decorum. Your children, a son and daughter, are at their lessons, learning Punic script and Greek poetry, preparing for their own roles in this intricate world. For a moment, the garden is a haven, the trickle of the fountain washing away the morning's tensions. But duty calls again. In the afternoon, you visit the temple of Tanit to offer a gift, a silver amulet, etched with her symbol for the safe return of a trading fleet. The temple is a place of awe, its columns soaring, its air thick with incense. Priests chant softly, their voices blending with the coo of doves kept in sacred cages. You kneel before the altar, the stone cool against your hands, and pray for Carthage's prosperity. The act is as much political as spiritual. Your presence here will be noted, your piety praised. Evening falls, and you host a banquet for allies, a display of wealth and power. The dining hall glows with oil lamps, their light dancing on bronze platters of grilled fish, spiced lentils, and pomegranates. Musicians play a lyre, their notes soft and hypnotic, while guests recline on cushioned couches, their laughter warmed by wine. You'd guide the conversation trade with Egypt, the strength of the navy while watching for signs of disloyalty. A merchant speaks too boldly, a senator avoids your gaze. These are clues to unravel later. As the night deepens, you feel the weight of your role, the constant balancing of trust and suspicion. When the guests depart, you retire to your study, a small room lined with scrolls, accounts, treaties, letters from distant colonies. By lamplight, you review a report on Rome's latest maneuvers, the parchment crackling under your fingers. The city is quiet now, save for the distant lap of waves against the harbor. Sleep will come soon, but not easily, for a senator's mind is never still. Your life is one of luxury, yes, but also of peril, where every decision shapes the fate of Carthage. As you drift now, imagine the villa's lights dimming, the city settling into slumber. Let us leave the senator's world and turn to a craft that defined Carthage's wealth, a labor of patience and precision. As the senator's villa fades into the quiet of night, let your mind drift to a humbler corner of Carthage, where the city's wealth is born not in grand halls, but in the patient labor of skilled hands. Imagine yourself standing on the rocky shore just beyond the city's walls, where the Mediterranean laps gently against the stones, and the air carries a sharp, briny scent. Here, in small workshops open to the sea breeze, artisans practice an ancient craft, the creation of Phoenician purple dye, a treasure so prized it rivals gold. This is the art that cloaks emperors and senators in splendor, and its secrets are woven into Carthage's very identity. Let us explore this process, step by unhurried step, as the waves provide a soothing backdrop. Picture the workshop, a low structure of sun-bleached stone, its roof thatched with palm fronds. The floor is packed earth, stained with years of labor, and wooden benches line the walls, cluttered with tools, bronze knives, clay bowls, and woven baskets. The air is heavy, not just with salt, but with a pungent, almost metallic odor, the unmistakable mark of the dyer's source. The murex snail, these small, spiky creatures, harvested from the shallow waters of the Mediterranean, are the heart of the craft. As you settle into this scene, imagine yourself as an apprentice, learning the meticulous steps that transform these humble shells into a color that defines empires. Your day begins at dawn, when the sea is calm and the light soft. You join other workers wading into the shallows, the water cool against your calves, the pebbles shifting underfoot. You carry a basket, its weave rough against your palm, and scan the rocky seabed for the glint of murex shells. There are 3 kinds of balinus: brandaris, hexoplex, trunculus, and stramonita hemistome, yielding a slightly different hue. You learn to spot their spiral forms, half buried in sand, and pry them free with a gentle twist, careful not to crush them. The snails are small, no larger than a walnut, but their weight adds up, and soon your basket is heavy, the shells clinking softly as you return to shore. Back at the workshop, the real labor begins. You sit on a low stool, a pile of shells before you, and take a bronze knife. its handle worn smooth by years of use. The first task is to extract the gland that holds the dye, a tiny sac hidden near the snail's head. You crack each shell with a precise tap, the sound sharp in the morning air, and peel back the fragments to reveal the creature inside. The gland, no bigger than a grain of barley, is a pale, almost translucent thing, but within it lies the secret of purple. You slice it free with care, placing it in a clay bowl, and move to the next shell. The work is repetitive, almost meditative, your hands falling into a rhythm as the pile of shells dwindles. The smell, however, is inescapable. As you whir, the air grows thick with the odor of decaying seafood, a mix of salt and rot that clings to your skin and clothes. The other artisans, their faces weathered by years at this trade, seamen chatting softly in Punic about the day's catch or the price of wool in the market. You learn to breathe through your mouth, focusing on the task, the knife's edge glinting in the sunlight that streams through the open doorway. By midday, your bowl is filled with hundreds of glands, their combined mass a slimy, unpromising heap. But this is only the beginning. The next step is to prepare the dye. You carry the bowl to a large clay vat, its sides stained with dark streaks from countless Here, the glands are crushed with a wooden pestle, releasing a yellowish liquid that smells even stronger, like the sea left to stagnate. You mix in seawater, drawn from a nearby well, and a pinch of ash to balance the mixture. The vat is set over a low fire, the flames fed by olive wood, their smoke curling upward in lazy spirals. As the liquid heats, it begins to change, shifting from yellow to green, then to a deep, almost otherworldly purple. The transformation is slow, requiring constant stirring with a long wooden rod, your arms aching as the hours pass. This color, known as Tyrian purple, is unlike any other. In sunlight, it shimmers with hues of violet and crimson, a depth that seems to capture the sea itself. But its beauty comes at a cost. Thousands of snails are needed for even a small batch, and the process is laborious, the dyer's value measured in the sweat of those who produce it. You learn that a single cloak dyed in this purple can cost more than a year's wages for a dockworker, its folds reserved for kings, priests, and the wealthiest senators. In Carthage, it is a symbol of power, a mark of the city's reach across the Mediterranean. Once the dye is ready, it is strained through fine linen to remove impurities, the liquid poured into smaller jars for storage. You help carry these to a shaded corner of the workshop, where they are sealed with wax to preserve their potency. The final step is testing the dye, a task given to skilled artisans. They dip strips of wool into the liquid, letting it soak under the sun's heat, the fibers drinking in the color. When rinsed in seawater, the purple sets, unyielding to time or washing. You watch, fascinated, as the wool emerges, its hue rich and regal, a testament to the craft's mastery. Your day ends as the sun dips low, painting the sea with streaks of gold. The workshop grows quiet, the other workers cleaning their tools, their hands stained a faint purple that no amount of scrubbing can fully remove. You step outside, the breeze carrying away the worst of the smell, and look toward the city, its rooftops glowing in the twilight. The labor is grueling, the hours long, but there is a strange pride in knowing you've contributed to Carthage's glory, even if your name will never be remembered. As you drift now, imagine the workshops, vats cooling, the sea's rhythm steady and eternal. Let us leave the artisan's craft behind and turn to a marvel of engineering, a structure that guards Carthage's heart. As the scent of the dye workshop fades into the evening air, let your mind drift to the very heart of Carthage, where the city's lifeblood pulses. Imagine yourself standing on a stone quay, the Mediterranean stretching before you, its surface glinting under a midday sun. The air is alive with the tang of salt, the creep of wooden ships, and the distant calls of gulls wheeling overhead. This is the harbor of Carthage, a marvel of engineering that binds the city to the world beyond. Its circular harbor and sprawling commercial docks are not just structures, but symbols of Carthage's ambition, wealth, and defiance. Let us explore this wonder, step by steady step, as the rhythm of the waves guides us through its grandeur. Picture the harbor as it stands in its prime. Around 300 BCE, the commercial port is a bustling crescent, its quays lined with ships from every corner of the Mediterranean. Phoenician traders from Tyre, Greek merchants from Syracuse, Egyptian barges, heavy with grain, The water is a deep, shimmering blue, dotted with the white foam of oars dipping in unison. Warehouses of sun-bleached stone loom behind the docks, their roofs tiled in red clay, storing amphorae of oil, wine, and the precious purple-dyed cloth you've just seen crafted. The scene is one of ordered chaos. Dockworkers haul crates, ropes groan under the weight of cargo, and overseers shout directions in a chorus of languages: Punic, Aramaic, Greek. The harbor is Carthage's gateway, its wealth flowing through these waters like a river. But the true marvel lies a short distance away, hidden from casual eyes. The circular war harbor, known as the Imagine walking along a fortified wall, its stones warm under your hand, until you reach a narrow entrance guarded by bronze gates. Beyond lies a perfect circle of water, carved into the land, its diameter perhaps 300 paces across. The Cathan is a masterpiece, its walls lined with sloping ramps and covered slipways, each designed to house a trireme, the sleek warships that defend Carthage's interests. At the center of the harbor rises an island, a low platform crowned with a commander's pavilion, its roof supported by columns painted red and gold. From here, the admiral surveys his fleet, the ships arranged like spokes in a wheel, ready to launch at a moment's notice. The engineering of the Cathan is a testament to Carthaginian ingenuity. To create it, workers dug deep into the earth, hauling away tons of soil and rock, their picks ringing in the dusty air. They lined the basin with stone, sealing it against the sea's pressure, and built channels to control the flow of water, ensuring the harbor remained fresh and free of silt. The slipways, numbering over 200, are marvels in themselves, each a slanted tunnel fitted with wooden rollers to ease the ships in and out. Imagine the labor. Men sweating under the sun, their tunics caked with mud, as they shaped this sanctuary of naval power. The work took years, perhaps decades, a quiet monument to the city's determination. Step closer now, and picture a trireme nestled in its slipway. The ship is a thing of beauty, its hull painted with eyes to ward off evil, its prow curving like a swan's neck. The wood smells of pine and tar, the ropes coiled neatly on deck. Each trireme carries 170 oarsmen, their benches cramped but efficient, and a small crew of marines armed with spears and shields. In times of peace, these ships patrol trade routes, their sails catching the wind as they chase pirates or escort merchant vessels. In war, they form the backbone of Carthage's navy, clashing with Roman galleys in battles that churn the sea to foam. The Cathan ensures they are always ready, protected from storms and spies alike. As you stand on the quay, consider the harbor's role in daily life. Merchants rely on its safety to ship goods: ivory from Africa, tin from Iberia, amber from the Baltic. The commercial docks hum with activity, the air thick with the scent of spices and the clink of coins changing hands. Sailors, their skin bronzed by years at sea, share tales of distant ports, their voices mingling with the cries of vendors selling roasted fish and barley cakes. The harbor is a crossroads, a place where cultures meet, where a Greek potter might haggle with a Numidian horse trader, their words translated by a quick-witted scribe. Yet, the harbor is not without its challenges. Storms can whip the sea into a frenzy, sending waves crashing over the quays, and ships must be secured with heavy chains to ride out the gale. Silt and seaweed clog the channels, requiring constant dredging by teams of laborers who wade into the chilly water, their hands numb as they scoop mud into baskets. Disease, too, lurks here, carried by rats that scurry from ship to shore, spreading fever through the crowded tenements nearby. The harbor is Carthage's pride, but it demands ceaseless care, a reminder that even wonders are born of toil. Now, imagine the Cathan at dusk, when the warships are silhouetted against the sky streaked with pink and gold. Torches flare along the walls, their light dancing on the water, and the pavilion stands silent, its commander gone for the night. The harbor is calm now, the day's frenzy soft to a murmur. Sailors light small fires on the docks, their laughter carrying over the waves, and the scent of grilled mackerel drifts through the air. This is the harbor's quieter face, a place where the city pauses, if only for a moment. As you linger here, let the harbor's rhythm soothe you with the lap of water, the creep of moored ships, the distant hum of a sailor's song. Its stones and slipways have seen empires rise and fall, yet they endure, a testament to Carthage's vision. Let us leave this marvel now and turn to the pulse of the city's commerce, where the agora hums with the energy of trade. As the twilight glow of Carthage's harbor fades into the horizon, let your mind drift to the bustling heart of the city, where commerce breathes life into its streets. Imagine yourself stepping into the agora, the great marketplace of Carthage, where the air is thick with the scents of cumin, leather, and freshly baked bread. It's mid-morning, and the sun casts dappled shadows through awnings of woven reed, as merchants and buyers weave through a maze of stalls. This is the pulse of Carthage's economy, a place where goods from across the known world changed hands, and every transaction is a delicate dance of trust and cunning. Let us wander through this vibrant scene, slowly and steadily, as the rhythm of trade carries us along. Picture the agora sprawling square near the city's center, its edges framed by colonnaded buildings of whitewashed stone. The ground is a patchwork of packed dirt and worn cobblestones, smoothed by countless footsteps. Stalls line the square, their wooden frames draped with colorful cloth red, ochre, blue fluttering in the warm breeze. Each stall is a small world, piled high with goods, clay amphorae brimming with olive oil, baskets of figs and pomegranates, bolts of linen dyed with indigo and the prized Tyrian purple. The air hums with voices, merchants calling out prices, buyers haggling in Punic Greek or the clipped dialects of Numidian trade. It's a symphony of commerce, lively but not chaotic, a rhythm as familiar to Carthage as the tides. You are a small-scale trader, perhaps dealing in spices, your stall modest but your table displays small clay jars of saffron, their golden threads glowing in the sunlight, alongside sacks of cumin and coriander, their earthy scents mingling in the air. You've traveled from a coastal village, your goods carried by donkey over dusty roads, and now you stand in the agora, your livelihood staked on the day's sales. Your tunic is simple, its hem frayed from travel, and a straw hat shields you from the sun. As you arrange your jars, you watch the crowd, learning its flow. Wealthy women with gold bangles, sailors with salt-stained cloaks, scribes clutching wax tablets. The day begins with a flurry of activity. A merchant from Tyre, his beard oiled and curling, approaches, seeking saffron for a banquet. You weigh the threads on a small bronze scale, its balance swaying gently, and quote a price in silver shekel. He counters, his voice smooth but firm, offering half your ask. The haggle is a ritual, almost a game, and you play it with care, praising the quality of your saffron harvested by hand, dried under the stars, while conceding just enough to close the deal. The coins he hands you are warm from his pouch, their edges stamped with Carthage's crescent moon. You tuck them into a leather purse, the way to small comfort. Not all transactions are so smooth. A Greek trader, his accent thick, eyes your cumin but questions its freshness, sniffing the sack with exaggerated skepticism. You invite him to crush a seed between his fingers, releasing its sharp, warm aroma, and he nods, satisfied, but drives a hard bargain. Another customer, a local baker, tries to barter, offering loaves of barley bread for a jar of coriander. You decline politely, knowing bread won't pay your debts, but you offer a small discount to keep his goodwill. Every deal is a calculation, a balance of profit and reputation, for a trader's name is as valuable as his goods. The agora is a crossroads of cultures. To your left, a Numidian sells sleek horses, their manes braided with beads, while to your right, an Egyptian unrolls papyrus scrolls, their edges curling in the heat. Across the square, a Phoenician displays ivory combs carved with lions, and a Sicilian offers amphorae of sweet wine, its scent drifting on the breeze. You overhear snippets of conversation: a sailor grumbling about pirate raids, a priestess buying myrrh for her temple, a boy boasting of his father's new ship. The diversity is Carthage's strength, but it also breeds tension. A dispute breaks out nearby, voices rising over a short-weighted sack of grain, and a market overseer, his staff topped with a bronze hawk, steps in to mediate, his judgment swift but fair. Midday brings a lull, the heat driving some to seek shade. You sit on a stool, sipping watered wine from a clay cup, its taste sharp but refreshing. A street vendor passes, offering skewers of grilled fish, their surfaces glistening with oil and herbs. You buy one, the fish tender and smoky, and eat slowly, watching the agora's ebb and flow. Children dart through the crowd, chasing a stray dog, their laughter bright against the murmur of trade. Women in veils inspect bolts of cloth, their fingers tracing the weave, while a group of sailors, fresh from a voyage, spend their wages on wine and trinkets, their coins clinking like small bells. Danger lurks beneath the Agara's vibrancy. Pickpockets weave through the crowd, their movements subtle, and you keep a hand on your purse, wary of their skill. Cheating merchants are another risk. Some watered down their wine or mix sand into their grain, trusting the bustle to hide their deceit. You've learned to spot them, their smiles too quick, their scales too light. Worse are the fires, a constant threat in a city of wood and cloth. A spark from a brazier could send the agora up in flames, and you've seen the blackened scars of past blazes on nearby buildings. The market's overseers patrol with buckets of sand, but vigilance is everyone's burden. As afternoon fades, the crowd thickens again, the air cooling as shadows lengthen. You sell the last of your saffron to a cook from a senator's household, her order large enough to ensure your journey was worthwhile. Packing your stall, you fold the empty sacks, their fabrics stiff with dust, and count your coins by the light of an oil lamp. The agora begins to quiet, merchants dismantling their stalls, the square emptying as the city turns toward evening. The scent of spices lingers, mingling with the salt of the nearby sea, a reminder of the trade that sustains Carthage. As you drift now, imagine the agora's hum softening, the stalls fading into twilight. Let us leave the marketplace behind and turn to a story that captured Carthage's imagination, a tale of love and legend woven into its very founding. As the hum of Carthage's agora fades into the evening's quiet, let your mind drift to a different realm, one where history and legend intertwine like threads in a tapestry. Imagine yourself seated in a Carthaginian courtyard, the air warm and scented with jasmine, as a storyteller's voice rises above the flicker of oil lamps. The tale is an old one, cherished by the Punic people, though it has been reshaped by poets across the sea. This is the myth of Dido, the legendary queen who founded Carthage, a story of cunning, love, and loss that echoes through the city's soul. Let us wander through this narrative, slowly and softly, as its words lull you into the past. Picture the story's beginning, set centuries before Carthage's height, around 814 BCE, in the Phoenician city of Tyre, far to the east. Dido, then known as Alyssa, is a princess of noble blood, her life one of privilege in a palace overlooking the sea. The walls are hung with tapestries dyed in Tyrian purple, and the air carries the scent of cedar and frankincense. She is young, with a mind as sharp as a bronze blade, and her marriage to a wealthy priest, Zacchaeus, is a bond of mutual respect. But tragedy strikes when her brother, Pygmalion, the king of Tyre, grows greedy. In a quiet betrayal, he orders Zacchaeus' death, hoping to seize his wealth. The act is swift, the priest's life fading in a temple's shadow, and Dido is left a widow, her heart heavy with grief, but unbowed. The storyteller's voice, low and rhythmic, describes Dido's resolve. She learns of her brother's treachery and vows to escape his reach. Under cover of night, she gathers loyal followers, merchants, sailors, and kin who trust her vision. They slip away from Tyre, their ships laden with gold, grain, and the sacred relics of their gods. Imagine the sea at midnight, its surface black and glittering, the oars dipping softly as Dido stands at the prow, her cloak billowing in the salt-laden breeze. The stars above guide her westward, toward an uncertain future, her courage a beacon for those who follow. The journey is long, the ships tossing on waves that smell of brine and storm. They sail past Cyprus, where Dido persuades more allies to join her, and onward to the North African coast. Here, the myth takes on a vivid hue. Dido and her people land on a fertile shore, where rolling hills meet the sea, and a local tribe, the Berbers, greet them with cautious curiosity. Seeking land for a new city, Dido negotiates with their king. In a stroke of cunning, she asks only for as much land as an ox-seed can cover. The king, amused, agrees, unaware of her plan. Dido cuts the hide into thin strips, stretching them to encircle a vast hill, the Biassa, the future heart of Carthage. The storyteller lingers on this moment, the hides, edges laid out under a blazing sun, Dido's followers, cheering as the land becomes theirs. With the Biassa secured, Dido founds her city. Imagine the early days, tents pitched on the hill, the air filled with the crack of hammers and the scent of fresh-cut timber. Dido is no distant ruler. She walks among her people, her sandals dusty, directing the construction of walls and a temple to Baal-Hamon. The city rises slowly, its stones quarried from nearby cliffs, its harbor dug to welcome ships. Carthage, named Kartadashnu, Scythian, Punic, becomes a haven for exiles, a place where Phoenician traditions take root in African soil. Dido's leadership, wise and steadfast, earns her the love of her people, her name whispered in prayers. But the myth, as told by later poets, turns toward romance and sorrow. The Roman poet Virgil, in his Aeneid, weaves a new thread into Dido's tale, one the Carthaginians might not have known. He places Aeneas, a Trojan hero fleeing his own ruined city, on Carthage's shores. Picture Aeneas, weary and sea-worn, his armor dented, stepping into Dido's court. The queen, struck by his dignity and the weight of his story, welcomes him. Their meeting is a quiet moment, the hall lit by torches, the air scented with myrrh. Dido, moved by fate and the gods' whispers, falls in love, her heart opening like a flower to the sun. The storyteller paints their time together with delicate strokes. Dido and Aeneas hunt in the hills, their horses galloping through groves of olive and myrtle, the air ringing with laughter. They feast in her palace, reclining on cushions as musicians play, their fingers brushing as they share a cup of wine. For a moment, Dido dreams of a shared future, a Carthage strengthened by their union. But Aeneas is bound by destiny, called by the gods to found Rome. When he prepares to leave, the scene is heart-wrenching, yet restrained. Dido stands on the Biasa, her eyes fixed on his departing ships, the sea swallowing them like a memory. In Virgil's telling, Dido's grief consumes her. She builds a pyre on the hill, its timbers draped with Aeneas's gifts, a cloak, a sword. As the flames rise, she climbs atop it, her voice a final prayer to the gods. The fire claims her, its smoke curling toward the stars, and Carthage mourns its queen. The Carthaginians, though, might have told a different end, one where Dido lived on, her city thriving under her rule, her death a later, quieter passing. The truth is lost, the myth a blend of Punic pride and Roman embellishment. As the story closes, imagine the courtyard growing still, the lamps burning low, their light casting soft shadows on the stone. Dido's tale is Carthage's origin, a reminder of resilience and sacrifice. Whether she loved Aeneas or ruled alone, her name is etched into the city's stones, her legacy a whisper in its streets. Let the myth linger now, its images softening like the embers of a fire. As you drift, let us leave Dido's legend and turn to the lives of those who walked beside her, the women whose quiet strength shaped Carthage's world. As the embers of Dido's myth fade into the starlit night, let your mind drift to the lives of the women who walked the streets of Carthage, their presence woven into the city's fabric like threads in a finely spun cloth. Imagine yourself in the heart of the city, around 300 BCE, where the air carries the scent of baking bread and blooming olean. From the priestesses who served the gods to the market vendors who fed their families, women in Carthage lived lives of resilience and influence, though often within the shadows of a patriarchal world. Let us explore their world, step by measured step, as the hum of their daily routines guides us into their stories. Picture a woman waking in a modest home in the lower city, its mud brick walls warmed by the morning sun. She is a weaver, her hands skilled at turning flax into linen, and her life is one of quiet labor. Her bed is a simple pallet, cushioned with straw, and as she rises, she smooths her linen tunic, its hem embroidered with a simple geometric pattern, a small act of pride. She lights a clay lamp, its wick flickering in the dimness, and begins her day. Her home is small, with a single room for living and working, its air scented with the earthy tang of stored grain and the faint sweetness of dried figs. A loom stands in one corner, its wooden frame strung with taut threads, ready for her touch. Her morning is spent at the loom, her fingers deftly weaving cloth that will be sold in the agora or bartered for oil and wine. The work is repetitive, almost hypnotic, the shuttle sliding back and forth with a soft thud. She hums a tune, perhaps a hymn to Tenet, the goddess whose protection she seeks for her two young children, who play nearby, their laughter mingling with the clatter of a neighbor's pottery. The cloth she weaves is fine but sturdy, destined for a merchant's stall or a sailor's cloak. Her skill is her family's lifeline, for her husband, a fisherman, is often at sea, and the coins she earns keep hunger at bay. In the marketplace, women like her are a common sight. Picture the agora again, its stalls bustling under the midday sun. A vendor, her hair tied back with a linen scarf, arranges baskets of barley and lentils, her voice sharp as she calls out prices. She banters with customers, her quick wit disarming even the stingiest hack. Her hands are calloused, her apron stained with flour, but her eyes are bright, scanning the crowd for opportunity. She trades not just for coin, but for news of ships arriving, of wars in distant lands, information as valuable as her goods. These women are the backbone of the market, their labor feeding the city, their chatter a thread in its social weave. Now, imagine a different woman, one a higher station, living in a villa on the Biasa Hill. She is the wife of a senator, her life one of privilege but not ease. Her home is spacious, its courtyard shaded by pomegranate trees, the air scented with rosewater and wax from polished furniture. She rises later, attended by servants who braid her hair with gold beads and drape her in a robe dyed with Tyrian purple, its folds heavy with status. Her morning is spent overseeing the household, checking the stores of grain, inspecting the work of spinners and cooks, ensuring the villa runs smoothly. She is no mere ornament. Her husband relies on her to manage his estate, especially when he is away at council or on trade. Her influence extends beyond the home. She hosts dinners for her husband's allies, her table laden with roasted lamb, spiced chickpeas, and wine from Sicily. The dining hall glows with lamplight, and she guides the conversation with grace, steering it toward alliances or trade deals, her words chosen with care. She knows the politics of Carthage, the rivalries between families, and uses her position to strengthen her husband's standing. Yet, her power is subtle, exercised within the bounds of decorum for a woman who oversteps risks, gossip, or disgrace. Her daughter, learning at her side, studies not just weaving but rhetoric, preparing for a similar role in the intricate dance of elite society. At the highest echelons, women serve as priestesses, their lives dedicated to the gods. Picture a priestess of Tanit, standing in the goddess's temple, its columns soaring into the twilight sky. Her robe is white, adorned with silver amulets, and her hair is crowned with a diadem shaped like a crescent moon. The temple smells of myrrh and charred cedar, the air thick with the weight of ritual. She leads ceremonies, her voice chanting prayers that rise above the coo of sacred doves. Her role is sacred, granting her authority rare for a woman. She advises senators, blesses fleets, and interprets omens in the flight of birds or the flicker of flames. Yet, her life is one of discipline, bound by vows of purity and service, her days spent in the temple's quiet embrace. For all their contributions, women in Carthage face constraints. Marriage is a contract, often arranged for alliance or wealth, and a wife's fidelity is strictly guarded, while men face fewer such demands. Divorce is possible, but rare, and a woman's property is controlled by her husband or father. In the lower classes, poverty ads and other heirs or orphans might turn to menial labor, cleaning homes or sorting fish at the docks. Their lives a constant struggle against want. Even priestesses, for all their prestige, are subject to the council's oversight, their rituals scrutinized for political ends. Yet, there is resilience in these lives. The weaver, her hands worn but steady, teaches her daughter the patterns of her trade, passing down songs of the sea and stars. The senator's wife, her mind sharp, negotiates her family's future with every smile. The priestess, her prayers rising, binds the city to its gods, her voice a bridge between mortal and divine. These women, from the humblest to the highest, shape Carthage in ways unspoken but enduring, their labors and loves as vital as the ships in its harbor. As you drift now, imagine their voices softening, the city's hum fading into a gentle lull. Let us leave their stories behind and turn to a moment of conflict, a war that shook Carthage to its core. As the voices of Carthage's women fade into the quiet of their lives, let your mind drift to a darker chapter in the city's history, when the air grew heavy with the threat of war. Imagine yourself standing on the walls of Carthage in 218 BCE, the Mediterranean shimmering below, but the horizon clouded with uncertainty. The Second Punic War, a clash between Carthage and Rome, has begun, and its shadow will fall heavily on the city, its people, and its dreams of empire. This is a story of ambition, loss, and resilience, told not with the clamor of battle, but with the steady rhythm of lives forever changed. Let us walk through this conflict, step by measured step, as the weight of history settles around us. The war's roots lie in the aftermath of the First Punic War, a struggle that ended in 241 BCE with Carthage's defeat and the loss of Sicily to Rome. The city, humbled but unbroken, turned to Iberia to rebuild its wealth under the leadership of Hamilcar Barca and his son, Hannibal. Picture Carthage in the years before the war, its harbor bustling, its markets filled with silver from Spanish mines. But Rome, ever watchful, grows wary of Carthage's resurgence. Tensions simmer, fueled by treaties and rivalries, until a spark ignites the conflict. Hannibal's attack on Saguntum, a Roman allied city in Iberia, in 219 BCE. The act is bold, a challenge to Rome's dominance, and it sets the Mediterranean ablaze. We've already followed Hannibal's audacious march across the Alps, his victories at Trebia, Lake Trasimene and Cannae, where Roman armies fell before his genius. Let us linger not on the battles themselves, but on their impact, the ripples that reached Carthage's shores. In the early years, hope burns bright. Imagine the city's Agra, alive with rumors of Hannibal's triumphs. Merchants toast his name with cups of wine, their voices rising over the clink of coins. Priests offer sacrifices at the temple of Baal Haman, the air thick with incense, praying for his continued success. The people believe Hannibal will humble Rome, restoring Carthage's glory. The Baessa Hill glows with torchlight as senators debate reinforcements, their robes rustling in the warm night air. But war is a hungry beast, and its demands weigh heavily. Picture the city's resources stretched thin. The council diverts grain and oil to supply Hannibal's army, leaving markets leaner, prices climbing. In the lower city, families like the weavers feel the pinch, their meals shrinking to barley gruel, the scent of spices a distant memory. Young men are conscripted, pulled from docks and fields to train as soldiers or rowers for the navy. A mother watches her son march away, his spear glinting in the dawn, her prayers to Tanit whispered through tears. The war harbor, once a symbol of strength, becomes a hive of urgency. Shipwrights hammering late into the night, the air sharp with the smell of pitch and sawdust. Hannibal's victories, though brilliant, cannot win the war alone. Rome adapts, refusing to meet him in open battle, instead harassing his supply lines and allies. By 211 BCE, Carthage's position weakens. Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, attempts to reinforce him but is defeated in Iberia, his army scattered. The news reaches Carthage like a cold wind, dampening the city's fervor. In a council chamber, senators argue, their voices strained. Some urge peace, others demand more ships, more men. The elite, once confident, feel the strained villas go without new mosaics. Banquets grow modest, the scent of saffron replaced by simpler herbs. The war's toll is felt beyond the battlefield. Trade, Carthage's lifeblood, suffers as Roman ships raid merchant vessels. The agora grows quieter, stalls, half empty, the chatter of foreign traders replaced by whispered fears of blockade. Pirates, emboldened by the chaos, prey on unguarded ships, their sails vanishing into the horizon. In the port, dockworkers like the one we met labor harder for less, their wages cut as cargoes dwindle. Disease creeps into the city, carried by returning soldiers or tainted water, and the tenements echo with coughs, the air heavy with the scent of burning herbs meant to ward off sickness. By 204 BCE, the war turns against Carthage. Rome, led by Scipio Africanus, invades North Africa, threatening the city itself. Imagine the panic, restrained but palpable, as news spreads. Farmers abandon their fields, seeking refuge behind Carthage's walls, their carts piled with what little they can carry sacks of grain, a clay idol of Tanit. The city fortifies, its gates reinforced with iron, its ramparts lined with archers. Women and children join the effort, carrying stones or weaving sails, their hands raw but steady. The temple of Eshmun, god of healing, is crowded with offerings, amulets, flowers, prayers scratched on lead tablets, seeking protection. The war's climax comes at Zama in 202 BCE, a battle we've touched on through Hannibal's story. Let us focus not on the clash, but on its aftermath. Carthage's army, weary and outnumbered, cannot withstand Rome's disciplined legions. The defeat is a quiet devastation. The news carried to the city by dust-covered messengers, their faces gaunt. The council, meeting in the shadow of defeat, agrees to Rome's terms. Surrender Iberia, dismantle the navy, pay a crushing tribute. The war harbor, once alive with triremes, grows still, its slipways empty, the pavilion on its island abandoned, its columns streaked with salt. The war's end reshapes Carthage. The city survives, its walls intact, but its spirit is bruised. Families mourn, sons and brothers lost, their names whispered in prayers at household altars. The agora slowly revives, but trade is slower, the wealth of empire diminished. Senators, their power curtailed, turn inward, plotting to rebuild. The people, from weavers to priestesses, carry on their lives, a testament to end. The war has taken much, but Carthage remains, its stones still warm under the African sun, its harbor still kissing the sea. As you drift now, imagine the city's walls standing silent, the weight of war lifting like a fading dream. Let us leave this conflict behind and turn to the practices that healed Carthage's people, body and soul. As the echoes of war settle into Carthage's stones, let your mind drift to a quieter aspect of the city's life, where the struggle is not against empires, but against the frailties of the body and spirit. Imagine yourself in a small courtyard in Carthage, around 300 BCE, where the air is scented with crushed mint and the faint smoke of burning herbs. Here, healers and priests work to mend the sick and soothe the weary, blending practical remedies with sacred rituals. In a world where illness is both a physical burden and a divine message, Carthaginian medicine is a tapestry of skill, faith, and tradition. Let us explore this world, step by soothing step, as the rhythm of healing carries us forward. Picture a healer's workspace, a modest room attached to a temple of Eshmun, the god of health and renewal. The walls are mud brick, whitewashed to reflect the sun, and the floor is swept clean, scattered with dried rushes that release a faint, grassy scent when stepped on. A wooden table holds the tools of the trade, clay jars of herbs, a bronze mortar and pestle, linen bandages neatly rolled. Shelves are lined with amphorae labeled in Punic scriptma for wounds, fennel for digestion, poppy seeds for pain. The air is warm, tinged with the sharp temps of vinegar used for cleaning, and a small brazier glows in the corner, its coals heating a pot of water infused with This is a place of care, where the practical and the divine meet. You are an apprentice healer, learning under a woman whose hands are steady and whose knowledge is vast. She is no priestess, but her work is sacred, her prayers to Eshmun whispered as she grinds herbs. Your day begins with a common task, preparing a poultice for a dock worker with a festering cut. You crush garlic and honey in the mortar, the garlic's bite mingling with the honey's sweetness, creating a thick paste to draw out infection. The healer shows you how to spread it on a linen strip, her fingers precise, and bind it to the wound, the cloth cool against the skin. The patient, his face etched with pain, offers a small coin and a murmured thanks, his trust in your care, a quiet bond. Carthaginian medicine draws from many sources: Phoenician tradition, Egyptian learning, and the practical wisdom of local Berber healers. For fevers, you learn to brew a tea of willow bark, its bitter taste masked with a drop of date syrup. The leaves are steeped in hot water, their steam rising in lazy curls, and the patient sips it slowly, the warmth easing their chills. For stomach ailments, fennel seeds are chewed or ground into a powder, their licorice-like scent a comfort to those who suffer. More complex remedies involve myrrh, imported at great cost, its resin dissolved in wine to treat coughs, the mixture's aroma rich in resin. Some treatments are more invasive. Imagine assisting with a soldier whose arm is swollen from a spear wound, the skin hot and red. The healer, her voice calm, decides to drain the abscess. She heats a bronze knife in the brazier's coals, the metal glowing faintly, and sterilizes it with vinegar. The procedure is swift, the soldier's jaw clenched as she works, and you hold a clay bowl to catch the fluid, the air sharp with the smell of infection. Afterward, she packs the wound with a salve of aloe and frankincense, its scent grounding, and binds it with clean linen. Such work requires skill, for a mistake could worsen the injury, and the healer's reputation rests on her success. Yet, medicine in Carthage is not only physical. Illness is often seen as a sign of divine displeasure or the work of malevolent spirits. Picture a family bringing their feverish child to the temple of Eshmun, their faces tight with worry. The priest, robed in white, examines the child, his hands gentle as he checks the pulse and eyes. He declares the fever a curse, perhaps from neglecting a vow to Tenay, The remedy is ritual. The family must offer a clay figurine of the child at the temple, its features molded with care, and burn myrrh on the altar, the smoke curling upward as a plea for mercy. You watch as the mother places the figurine, her fingers trembling, the air heavy with the weight of hope. Rituals extend to daily care. Healers often prescribe amulets, small discs of faience or silver, etched with the symbol of Tanit, or a protective eye to ward off evil. These are worn on leather cords. They await a constant reminder of divine watch. For chronic ailments, like joint pain, patients visit sacred springs outside the city, their waters warm and mineral-rich, believed to carry Eshman's blessing. Imagine the scene. Men and women soaking in stone-lined pools, the air damp and earthy, their voices low as they pray. The waters ripple a soothing counterpoint to their pain. The limits of Carthaginian medicine are real. Broken bones can be splintered, but internal injuries often defy treatment, leaving patients to fate. Childbirth, though aided by midwives skilled in massage and herbal teas, carries risks, and many mothers and infants are lost, their passing mourned with quiet offerings at household altars. Epidemics, like those that swept the city during the war, overwhelm healers. The air in tenements, thick with the scent of burning rosemary meant to purify. Yet, healers persist, their knowledge passed down through generations, their work a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Picture the healer's day ending as the sun dips low, the courtyard glowing with twilight. She cleans her tools, the bronze gleaming in the lamplight, and offers a final prayer to Eshman, her voice soft as the rustle of leaves. The city settles around her, its people carrying on, their ailments eased by her care. This is the rhythm of healing in Carthage, a balance of skill and faith, as enduring as the sea. As you drift now, imagine the courtyard's warmth fading, the scent of herbs softening into memory. Let us leave the healer's work and turn to a loss that haunts Carthage's legacy, a treasure destroyed by time. As the healer's courtyard fades into the twilight, let your mind drift to a more elusive corner of Carthage's past, where the whispers of lost knowledge linger like shadows on a wall. Imagine yourself in a quiet chamber within the city, around 300 BC, where the air is cool and scented with the dry, musty temps of papyrus and wax. This is the Library of Carthage, or what we imagine it to have been, a repository of scrolls and tablets that held the city's wisdom, from trade records to sacred texts. Yet, this library, if it existed, is now a ghost, its contents scattered or destroyed, leaving us to ponder what treasures of thought were lost. Let us explore this mystery, step by careful step, as the silence of forgotten words guides us through the ages. Picture the library as it might have been, housed in a grand building near the Byrasa Hill, perhaps attached to the temple of Balhaman or the council chambers. The structure is stone, its columns carved with motifs of ships and stars, their surfaces smoothed by the sea breeze. Inside, the chamber is long and narrow, its high ceiling supported by cedar beams, the wood's faint aroma mingling with the dust of old scrolls. Shelves of polished oak line the walls, stacked with rolls of papyrus, their edges curling, and clay tablets incised with Punic script. Oil lamps hang from bronze chains, casting a soft glow on the scribes who work here, their styluses scratching quietly as they copy texts. The air is still, the city's clamor muffled by thick walls, creating a sanctuary of thought. You are a scribe's apprentice, your hands stained with ink, your tunic dusted with the fine grit of clay. Your task is to catalogue a new shipment of scrolls from Tyre, their contents a mix of poetry, star charts, and treatises on navigation. You unroll one, its papyrus crisp but fragile, and read of Phoenician voyages to distant shores, where tin and amber are traded under skies heavy with storm. Another scroll, written in Greek, describes the properties of herbs, its margins annotated by a Carthaginian healer. A clay tablet, heavy in your hands, lists the tariffs on ivory and wine, its numbers precise, a record of the agora's wealth. Each text is a fragment of Carthage's mind, a piece of a larger mosaic. The library, if it existed, would have been a marvel, for Carthage was a city of learning as much as trade. Its people, heirs to Phoenician traditions, valued writing, their alphabet one of the first to spread across the Mediterranean. Imagine the scope of its collection: histories of Tyre and Sidon, myths of Baal and mathematical tables for calculating trade routes, and perhaps even philosophies borrowed from Egypt or Greece. Priests might have stored hymns here, their verses chanted in temples, while merchants kept contracts, their terms sealed with wax. The library was a bridge between cultures, its scrolls a dialogue between Punic, Greek, and Berber voices, their ideas mingling like spices in the market, but the mystery lies in its loss. Unlike the great library of Alexandria, whose fame endures, Carthage's library is a shadow, mentioned only indirectly in ancient sources. Roman writers, like Pliny, hint at Carthaginian texts on agriculture, their methods so advanced that Rome adopted them after the city's fall. Greek historians speak of Punic records, meticulous and vast, but none survive. The question haunts us. What was in this library, and why is it gone? Let's consider the possibilities, calmly, as if sifting through the ashes of time. One theory points to the Third Punic War in 146 BCE, when Rome razed Carthage to the ground. Picture the city in its final days, its walls breached, its streets choked with smoke. The library, if it stood, would have been a target, its scrolls fuel for flames, its tablets shattered under soldiers' boots. The fire's heat would have turned papyrus to ash, the air thick with the acrid smell of burning knowledge. Roman generals, eager to erase Carthage's legacy, might have ordered the destruction, their triumph complete only when the city's mind was silenced. A few texts, perhaps, were looted agricultural manuals carried to Rome, their wisdom repurposed, but most were lost, their words dissolving into the Mediterranean wind. Another possibility is earlier neglect. The Second Punic War, as we've seen, drained Carthage's resources. Imagine the library in those years, its shelves gathering dust, its scribes conscripted for war, its funds diverted to ships and soldiers. Scrolls, untended, might have crumbled, their ink fading in the humid air. Tablets, stacked carelessly, could have cracked, their inscriptions worn away. The city, focused on survival, might have let its library fade, its treasures overlooked in the scramble to defy Rome. By the time the final war came, the collection could have been a shadow of its former self, its loss less a catastrophe than a quiet erosion. Yet, there's a chance the library was smaller than we imagine, not a grand institution but a collection of private archives, priests, hymns, senators' letters, kept in villas and temples. These, too, would have perished in the fires of 146 BCE, their fragments buried under rubble. Excavations in modern Tunisia have found little trace, no charred scrolls, no shattered tablets, only the silence of absence. The lack of evidence is the mystery's core, a void that invites speculation. Were there scientific treatises lost to us that rivaled Greek thought, poems that sang of the sea, histories that told Carthage's story in her own voice? We cannot know, and that unknowing is a gentle ache. Picture yourself now, standing in the imagined library, the lamplight dimming as the day ends. The scrolls are silent, their secrets locked in time. You trace a finger along a shelf, the wood cool and worn, and feel the weight of what was lost. Carthage's mind, once vibrant, is a whisper now. Its knowledge carried only in fragments, words borrowed by Rome, stories retold by Greeks. As you linger, let the mystery soften, like the glow of a fading lamp. As you drift now, imagine the library's chamber growing still, its shadows deepening into night. Let us leave this enigma behind and turn to a moment of joy, a festival that lit Carthage's heart. As the shadowed mystery of Carthage's lost library fades into the stillness of time, let your mind drift to a brighter moment in the city's life, where the air pulses with devotion and community. Imagine yourself standing on a wide plaza outside the temple of Baal-Hamon, around 300 BCE, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet. The scent of burning cedar and sweet myrrh fills the air, mingling with the murmur of a gathering crowd. This is the festival of Baal-Hamon, Carthage's chief god, a time when the city pauses to honor the divine forces that sustain it. Let us join this celebration, step by reverent step, as the rhythm of ritual guides us through a night of faith and unity. Picture the plaza, a vast open space paved with smooth limestone, its edges lined with date palms swaying in the evening breeze. The temple looms before you, its columns towering, each crowned with a bronze crescent moon that glints in the torchlight. The facade is adorned with carvings, lions, stars, and the palm tree sacred to Baal, their details softened by years of sun and wind. Braziers burn at intervals, their flames casting a warm glow on the faces of the gathered merchants in fine tunics, weavers with calloused hands, children clutching their parents' robes. The air is alive with anticipation. The crowd's voices a low hum, punctuated by the soft bleating of goats brought for the sacrifice. You are part of this throng, perhaps a craftsman from the lower city, your linen tunic clean but simple, a small amulet of tannet tucked beneath it for blessing. Your family stands beside you, your wife's hair braided with beads, your son wide-eyed at the spectacle. The festival is a rare moment of reprieve, a chance to step away from the loom or the market and join the city in a shared act of devotion. You've brought a modest offering, a clay jar of olive oil, its surface etched with a prayer hoping Baal Hamon will grant a bountiful harvest or safe voyages for your brother, a sailor. The ceremony begins as the high priest emerges from the temple, his robe a deep crimson, fringed with gold that shimmers in the firelight. He raises his hands, and the crowd falls silent. The only sound the crackle of the braziers and the distant lap of waves against the harbor. His voice, deep and resonant, chants a hymn to Baal Hamon, Lord of the heavens, giver of rain and fertility. The words are ancient, their cadence hypnotic, weaving a spell that binds the people to their god. You feel the crowd sway slightly, drawn into the rhythm, their breaths aligning with the chant. The air grows heavy with the scent of incense, poured onto the braziers and clouds of fragrant smoke, curling upward as if carrying the prayers to the stars. The sacrifice follows, a solemn act at the heart of the festival. Several goats, their coats brushed and adorned with ribbons, are led to the altar, a broad stone platform stained dark by years of offerings. The priest sprinkles them with water, a gesture of purification, and speaks a blessing, his voice steady. The act is swift, the animals' lives given to honor the god, their blood collected in bronze bowls to be poured into the earth as a gift. The moment is not one of cruelty, but of reverence, a reminder of the cycle that sustains life growth, sacrifice, renewal. The crowd murmurs prayers, their voices blending into a soft chorus, and you add your own, asking for strength to face the year ahead. With the sacrifice complete, the priests distribute portions of the roasted offerings, the meat tender and seasoned with salt and herbs, its aroma mingling with the crowd's quiet chatter. You share a piece with your family, the taste rich and grounding, a tangible link to the divine. Musicians appear, their lyres and tambourines filling the plaza with a gentle melody, the notes dancing like the flames. Young women, acolytes of Tanit, perform a ritual dance, their white robes swirling, their movements graceful yet restrained, a tribute to the goddess who complements Baal's power. The crowd watches, entranced, the children clapping softly, their eyes bright with wonder. As the night deepens, the festival becomes a communal feast. Tables are set up across the plaza, laden with communal bowls of lentils spiced with cumin, jars of honeyed wine. You sit on a woven mat, sharing stories with neighbors, the air warm with laughter and the clink of clay cups. A storyteller, his voice soft but captivating, recounts a myth of Baal's battle with the sea god Yam, his words painting a world of cosmic struggle and triumph. The tale is familiar, its cadence comforting, and you feel the city's heartbeat in the shared moment, a unity that transcends class or trade. The temple remains the focal point, its doors open to receive offerings. You approach with your jar of oil, placing it on a low altar beside others' amulets, flowers, small figurines of clay. A priestess, her face serene, accepts it with a nod, her hands brushing yours as she murmurs a blessing. The act feels intimate, a connection to something greater, and you step back, the temple's glow warming your skin. Above, the stars are bright, their patterns a map of the god's will, and you wonder if Baal Hamon sees the city's devotion, its people bound by this night of faith. The festival stretches into the early hours, but you linger only a while longer, exhaustion tugging at you like a gentle tide. As you walk home, the streets quiet save for the echo of distant drums. You carry the memory of the plaza light, the chants, the shared meal. This is Carthage at its most alive, its people united under the gaze of their god. Their lives a fragile but enduring offering. As you drift now, imagine the plaza emptying, the braziers burning low, their embers glowing like stars fallen to earth. Let us leave the festival's warmth and turn to the final chapter of Carthage's story, a moment when his light was extinguished. As the glow of the festival too, Baal Hamon fades into the starlit night, Let your mind drift to a darker moment in Carthage's history, when the city's vibrant pulse faced its final test. Imagine yourself standing on the Byrsa Hill in 146 BC, the air thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the distant rumble of siege engines. The Third Punic War has brought Rome to Carthage's gates, and the city, once a beacon of trade and power, now stands on the edge of oblivion. This is the story of Carthage's fall, a chapter of resilience and ruin told not with the clamor of destruction, but with the quiet weight of a civilization's end. Let us walk through these final days, step by measured step, as the city's light dims. The seeds of this war were sown decades earlier, after the Second Punic War's devastating toll. Carthage, humbled by Rome's terms, surrendered its navy and paid heavy tribute, its harbor growing quiet, its wealth diminished. Yet, the city endured, rebuilding through trade and agriculture, its fields green with barley and olives, its agora slowly reviving. Rome, however, never forgot Hannibal's threat, and its senators, wary of Carthage's recovery, sought a pretext to crush their rival forever. By 150 BCE, tensions with Numidia, a Roman ally, provided the excuse. When Carthage, forbidden by treaty to wage war, defended itself against Numidian raids, Rome declared it a violation and demanded retribution. In 149 BCE, the Third Punic War began. Rome's demands were impossible. Carthage must disarm, abandon its city, and relocate inland, far from the sea that defined it. Picture the council chamber, its cedar walls dim in the lamplight, as senators debate, their voices strained. To abandon the harbor, the temples, the Byrsa itself was unthinkable, a betrayal of their gods and ancestors. The city chose defiance, fortifying its walls, forging weapons, and preparing for siege. Imagine the streets alive with purposesmiths hammering bronze, women weaving sails, even children carrying water to stockpile. The air smelled of molten metal and fresh-cut timber, a city bracing for its stand. The siege began with Roman legions encircling Carthage, their camps a ring of tents and palisades stretching along the coast. The harbor, once bustling, became a battleground, Roman ships blockading the entrance, their sails blotting the horizon. Inside the walls, life grew austere. Food stores dwindled, and families rationed bread and oil, the scent of spices replaced by the stale tamps of barley. The lower city's tenements, packed with refugees from nearby farms, hummed with fear, the air heavy with the coughs of the sick. Yet, Carthage fought on, its people driven by a fierce love for their home, their prayers to Baal Hammon and Tanit rising from every rooftop. For 3 years, the city held. Picture the walls, triple-layered and towering, manned by archers whose arrows glinted in the sun. The war harbor's triremes, though few, made daring sorties, slipping past Roman galleys under cover of night. Women, like the weaver we met, melted jewelry to cast spearheads, their hands blistered but steady. The leader, Hasdrubal, rallied the defenders, his voice echoing from the Byrsa, promising victory if they endured. But Rome's resources were vast, its legions relentless. By 147 BCE, under Scipio Aemilianus, the Romans tightened their grip, breaching the outer walls and fighting street by street, their advance a slow, inexorable tide. The final assault came in 146 BCE. Let us linger not on the chaos itself, but on its weight. The Romans broke through the inner city, their torches setting homes alight, the air choking with smoke and ash. The streets, once alive with merchants and children, became a maze of rubble, the cobblestones stained with the toll of resistance. Families fled to the Byrsa, the last stronghold, crowding the temple of Eshmun, their offerings amulets, flowers piled high in desperate prayer. Hasdrubal, his defiance crumbling, surrendered, but many refused, choosing to fight or perish in the flames. The temple, a sanctuary of healing, became a final refuge, its columns blackened as the fire spread. Carthage's end was deliberate. Rome, determined to erase its rival, razed the city, its walls toppled, its harbor filled with debris, the Agera's stalls, the villa's mosaics. The library's scrolls all were consumed, the air thick with the scent of burning wood and papyrus. Survivors, few in number, were enslaved, their chains clinking as they were marched away, the sea no longer theirs. Legend claims Rome sowed the land with salt, a symbolic curse to ensure nothing would grow, though the fields would later bloom again. The city's stones, once warm under the African sun, lay silent, its heartbeat stilled. The fall was more than a military defeat. It was the end of a world. Carthage's language, its gods, its stories faded, preserved only in fragments by its conquerors. The harbor, a marvel of engineering, became a ruin, its slipways buried under sand. The Biasa, where Dido's hide once marked a new beginning, stood empty, its altars cold. Yet the city's spirit lingered, its influence woven into Rome's own culture, its agriculture, its navigation, its purple-dyed cloaks. As you stand on the imagined Biasa, picture the city's final moments, not with sorrow, but with the calm of history's long arc. The fires have burned out, the smoke has cleared, and the sea remains, eternal and unyielding. Carthage's story is over, but its echoes endure, carried on the waves. As you drift now, imagine the ruins cooling, the Mediterranean whispering softly against the shore. Let us leave this chapter of loss and turn to the legacy that Carthage left behind, a thread that ties the past to our present. As the embers of Carthage's fall cool beneath the African stars, let your mind drift to a broader vista, where the city's legacy lingers like a whisper on the Mediterranean breeze. Imagine yourself standing on a quiet shore, the ruins of Carthage behind you, their stones worn smooth by time. The sea stretches before you, its surface shimmering under a twilight sky, connecting the past to the present in an unbroken chain. Though Carthage was raised in 146 BCE, its influence endures, woven into the fabric of the world that followed, from Rome's fields to our modern lives. Let us explore this shadow, step by reflective step, as we trace the threads of Carthage's enduring presence, easing you toward rest. Picture the Mediterranean in the centuries after Carthage's fall, its waters still plied by ships that owe their roots to Punic navigators. Carthage was a city of the sea, its harbor, a crossroads where goods and ideas flowed ivory from Africa, tin from Iberia, philosophy from Greece. Even in defeat, its knowledge survived, carried by the very empire that destroyed it. Rome, ever pragmatic, absorbed what Carthage had mastered. Consider the fields of Italy, green with wheat and olives, their yields boosted by Punic farming techniques. Scrolls, perhaps saved from the lost library, taught Roman farmers to graft fruit trees and rotate crops, methods that fed an empire. The scent of those fields, earthy and warm, carries a faint echo of Carthage's ingenuity. The art of trade, too, bears Carthage's mark. Picture Rome's bustling ports, Ostia and Puteoli, where merchants haggle over amphorae of oil and wine, their methods refined by Punic predecessors. The agara's rhythms, weights and measures, contracts sealed with wax-shaped Roman commerce, ensuring goods moved from Egypt to Gaul with a precision Carthage. The Tyrian purple, once a symbol of Carthaginian wealth, became Rome's imperial hue, draping emperors and senators in cloaks that whispered of a fallen rival. Even today, in museums, fragments of purple-dyed cloth evoke that legacy, their color still vibrant after centuries, a testament to the artisans we met. Carthage's language and faith left such. The Punic tongue, though silenced in its homeland, lingered in scattered communities, its alphabet influencing the scripts of Greece and Rome. Words for trademark tariff may carry distant Punic roots, their sounds echoing in modern languages like a half-remembered song. The gods, Baal-Hamon and Tanit, faded, but their rituals shaped the Mediterranean's spiritual landscape. Picture early Christian churches in North Africa, built on Punic sacred sites, their altars repurposed, but their sanctity enduring. The crescent moon, Tanit symbol, appears in later art, a quiet nod to a goddess whose name was once chanted under starlit skies. The city's destruction, though tragic, seeded new beginnings. Rome rebuilt, Carthage as a colony, its grid of streets laid over the old, its theater and baths rising where the agora once stood. By the 1st century CE, it was a thriving Roman city, its fields feeding the empire, its port alive again with ships. Imagine walking those streets. The cobblestones new, but the seas sent unchanged. The harbors curve a faint memory of the Chthon's genius. This Carthage, though Roman, carried the old city's spirit, its resilience a bridge between era. Even today, in Tunis, the modern city atop Carthage's ruins, the past lingers in the curve of a hill, the fragment of a Punic wall, the rhythm of a market that echoes the agora's hum. Carthage's story also shaped history's imagination. Picture the poets and historians of Rome, men like Virgil, who wove Dido into their tales. Her myth, a bridge between Troy and Rome. Her story, though altered, kept Carthage alive in the Western mind, her name a synonym for courage and loss. In later centuries, scholars pored over Roman texts, piecing together Carthage's history, their quills scratching in candlelit rooms. The Punic Wars became a lesson in strategy, taught to generals from Napoleon to modern times. Hannibal's tactics a timeless study in audacity. The city's fall, too, became a cautionary tale, a reminder of empire's fragility, its ruins a canvas for reflection. Now, let your thoughts turn to the present, to the world you know, where Carthage's shadow still falls, subtle but enduring. The Mediterranean diet olives, bread winos, a debt to Punic agriculture. Its flavors are linked to the fields we imagined. Maritime trade, the backbone of global economies, traces its lineage to Carthage's navigators who charted the sea with stars and courage. Even the alphabet you read, its letters flowing across pages, descends from the Phoenician script that Carthage spread, each character a whisper of scribes in a lost library. In museums, Punic artifacts, amulets, mosaics stand silent, their beauty a bridge to a world we've wandered through. As you stand on this imagined shore, consider the lives we've met. The dockworker, his hands calloused from the senator, balancing power and peril. The healer, her herbs a balm for suffering. The festivers crowd, united in faith. Their world is gone, its stones scattered, but their struggles and dreams resonate, a reminder of humanity's shared journey. Carthage, for all its loss, was not erased. It lives in the sea's rhythm, the field's bounty, the stories we tell. Its legacy is a quiet gift, a thread that ties the ancient to the now, the distant to the familiar. Let this reflection soothe you, like the waves lapping gently against the shore. Carthage's story, with all its toil and triumph, is part of a larger tapestry, one that stretches to your own time, your own place. As you rest, imagine the city's ruins bathed in moonlight, their silence a lullaby, their memory a comfort. The past is vast, but it leads to you, here, now, in the calm embrace of this moment. And so, our journey through ancient Carthage comes to a close. Its harbor, its streets, its people fading like a dream into the Mediterranean night. From the toil of the docks to the grandeur of the Bayasa, from the mysteries of sacrifice to the echoes of a lost library. We've wandered through a world both distant and familiar, its rhythms a gentle guide toward rest. Carthage, though gone, leaves its mark, a quiet reminder that even in loss, there is legacy, in struggle, there is meaning. As you lie here, let the weight of history lift, the sea's whisper carrying away the past. Your world is softer now, your better haven, far from the sun-scorched stones of a fallen city. Let the stories settle, their details blurring into a soothing hum, and drift toward sleep, wrapped in the comfort of time's endless flow. Good night, and may your dreams be as peaceful as the tides.